Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Rig It on Monday with the Coach. I got my sidekick Jordan with me today, and I've got a new welcome sidekick. Brandon's going to be with me in the future. So, got two guys with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about some good big bite baits. As y'all can tell now, we got some new setup. I'm in high cotton today, Jordan. We got some tanks, so we're going to try to show some action of some of the baits, that type of thing. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting. And y'all don't make too much fun of me today because we're going to work it out. This is kind of going to be trial and error. So yeah, here we go, Jordan. So I think you got a question you wanted to lead the show off with today.
Yeah, I have a couple. Let's see. Let's go with DD Outdoors wants to know the best bait for small private lakes in the spring. That's one of my questions.
Well, that's a really good question. I probably would recommend a trick stick. That works really well in a pond. And then, of course, obviously, I'd go with a fighting frog too. But my first thought would be that, and I might even say a lizard as well. But a trick stick right out of the gate, they'll get lots of bites on that particular bait for sure. My
next one, I'll leave a few for the end. My next one's from Thomas Full Send. He's wondering, what is your favorite bait?
Okay, Thomas. Well, that's a repetitive question I've had a bunch of times, but that's going to lead me into today's show. And that particular answer is the fighting frog. We're going to talk about the fighting frog now. As most of you know, Drew Cook is just coming off his win on Santee Cooper on our fighting frog. And so I thought today we might just follow up with a few things about the fighting frog that people might not know, and just some different ways to fish it, and show some different colors, some new colors, and just a lot of general info about our fighting frog. Now, I personally think the fighting frog is one of the best baits we build here at Big Bite. No doubt in my mind. I've caught a ton of fish on it. I have lots of friends who have caught tons of fish on it, and obviously several of our pros have done real well on it over the years. So I highly recommend that bite. You know, my wife always tells people that if you can't catch a fish on a fighting frog, you need to quit fishing. So we'll kind of leave it at that. So today I thought I'd just first talk about, we have 5 new colors that have come out in the fighting frog in the last 6 months or so we might need to talk about. All right, the first one is the new magician color. It's a triple lamb. It's got some watermelon red and some different types of chartreuse in it. It's a pretty neat looking color. Okay, and then we've got the BTL, which is another triple lamb. It has a chartreuse stripe down the sides. It has some black and some June bug in it. Kind of a neat looking color. Okay, then we've got the green pumpkin flamethrower. Of course, obviously all the flamethrower colors have been real popular. Just the regular flamethrower as well as the green pumpkin flamethrower. So we've got it now in GP flamethrower. And then of course we've got the green pumpkin Texas red, which is a color that I like a lot. It's kind of a neat looking, it does real well on our fishery here. And then last but not least, the green pumpkin purple and copper flake, which is something a little bit different that we have now. So those are the new colors that we just put into the line that you might be interested in getting or buying, okay? All right, now, when you begin to look at the fighting frog, one of the things I'm going to say, somebody say, well, Coach, what's your 2 favorite colors? Well, I like 2 of the old standby colors. If the water's stained up, I like to throw the hematoma, which is a black and blue with a tiny red flake in it. It does really well in stained water. And then if the water begins to clear up, I like to throw just the good old tilapia. And that's a green pumpkin with a purple and blue flake. So those are 2 other colors you might can look at. And then if you went to our pros and talked to them, well, what are your colors? I only use 2 of our pros, for example. The originator and the developer of the fighting frog, Dean Rojas, will tell you, who we've had on here several times to talk about the fighting frog. He's going to tell you he's gone to bruised melon. That's become his go-to. Watermelon red swirled with hematoma. And then, of course, obviously, if you ask our winner last week, Drew Cook, he's going to tell you he caught all his fish at Santee Cooper except for 2 on Tilapia Magic. And that is by far his favorite color. I know that we met with him yesterday, Jordan, and that's all he could rave about is how much he liked the Tilapia Magic color. So those are just some of the things we could talk about. We offer that bait in 37 colors. So, you know, there's some other colors that you might like better. That's just kind of the ones that I kind of want to single out today. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about before I get into some of the live stuff, let's talk about some ways that you can rig that bait other than just the old proverbial Texas rig, which I will show you in the tank. Okay, you might want to do a finesse rig with the 3.5 inch fighting frog and put it on a fin twist head and turn it into a shaky head. Dean Rojas does this quite a bit, and it works really well with our smaller version of this bait. Keep in mind this bait comes in 3 sizes, a 3.5, a 4 inch, and a 5 inch. So that's one way to do the smaller one, okay? I like to use it coincidentally on a bitsy bug. Works real good that way too on a small finesse jig. That little one works really well, okay, especially out in the heat of the summer. All right. Then the next rig I want to share with you is just a good old football jig. It's got the 4-inch Fighting Frog on the back of it. Gives a real nice presentation. You got your kickers out behind. Works real well. Okay. And then of course, obviously on a chatterbait. Of course, we have a swim on also that works really well on the chatterbait, as we all know. But this is the fire red chatterbait with the green pumpkin Flamethrower Fighting Frog on the back of it. Kind of a neat looking deal. All right, you can put it on a swim jig. And I like how we did this. We got this from Drew Cook as well. We turned it upside down, turned it vertical, and threaded it on a swim jig. Kind of different way to feast it up there. That's on there, and it's turned up and down rather than flat. So it's kind of a neat way to do it. And then last but not least, for all you guys that like to drag, you can put it on the Carolina rig. And this is kind of a modified Carolina rig, but it works real well on a Carolina rig. So those are some of the ways that you can fish it other than the proverbial Texas rig, which most people like to fish it. And myself included, I fish it a lot. So let's just take a minute and let's take a look at the tank and let's kind of get an idea of what's going on with it. So I've got a 4-inch Fighting Frog in the tank right now that I just wanted to kind of show you everybody. And let me get the line untangled here a little bit, and let's just get a look at the action of that bait. And you can put that bait in the bed and just make it quiver, as you can see there, or you can hop it, and it's got great falling action. You can see the kickers kick, but you can get that quivering action just by tapping on your rod tip and make it get that action in the bed if you're using it to bed fish, and it works really well. Or you can fish it up and down, or you can just drag it and you'll get that flapping action. Tank's not quite big enough to get it to really flapping, but it works really well. So that's kind of how the 4-inch bait would look if you were looking at it, okay? Now, I'm gonna give you the other version, which is the 5-inch bait, which is a lot bigger profile bait. It's gonna fall a lot slower because it's a lot bigger. And it does some of the same things. As you can see, you can get it in. It seems to stand up more than the 4-inch on its nose, especially when it first hits, because it's more buoyant, it's bigger, and it gives you that same action look, but you can get that same quivering action going out of it if you want to. So kind of a neat deal, kind of give you some ideas on the action of that bait, and it's got lots of actions. And as you get it out in the main lake where you can really work it, I promise you those flappers will work a lot better on it. It's just when it's a little bit aquarium, and it makes a big difference. So when you look at it from that way. So that kind of gives you an idea how to work that bait. As you can see, that bait's got really good action. It undulates, and it kicks, and it shakes, and it quivers, and fish can't stand it. It's a really good fish catcher.
Will you drop it from the surface a couple times?
Sure, I'll be glad to.
Yeah, it looks good.
You know, hadn't just got quite enough room to be able to work like I would like it to.
Well, thanks. That looks good.
Yeah, it looks good, though. That's a good bait, no doubt. Like I said, it's one of the best baits I think we build. All right, I think you have some other questions you want to talk to us about today, too, Jordan, while we're at it.
Yeah, we had a live question coming in. If you had to pick one color of all these, which one would you
Oh,
pick?
that's a good question. I'm a tilapia guy, so, you know, I like the tilapia the best. Probably caught more fish on that one than any other color. I have personally, anyway.
And then Anthony wants to know, what does the color BTL stand for?
It stands for Bass Talk Live. Now, how that color came into existence is they had a color contest where they allowed all their listeners to help develop a color bait, and that's the bait that they chose, and they named it BTL. Bradley Hallman and Matt Painwright did, and they sent it to us, and of course we made it in several things. We have it in a BFE as well, and we made it in a Yo Mama, I believe, and now we've got it in the Fighting Frog.
Okay, let's see. I have one here from Blake Kisselberg is wondering, what do you like to throw into heavy cover?
I just throw a Texas rig in heavy cover. I love that Texas rig around like a brush pile or something that's pretty heavy, or around, say, a blowdown. I just flip that Texas rig in there and hang on. It works really good. That's how I definitely recommend fishing that for sure.
Okay, what about the gear to go with that?
High speed as you like. I don't think you can get fast enough after you set the hook on that. I'm not going to be swimming it, so it doesn't really matter. I just want to be able to pick up a lot of line in a hurry. So I definitely would use a high-speed reel of some variety.
Okay, that's all I got for you right now.
Well, that's super, man. I think it went good. And anybody's got any suggestions to help make us better, we'd love to hear that as well. We're trying the tank out. It's something new. And we're going to try and make a few changes here in the next couple of weeks. So definitely, if you got an idea, pass it along. And we look forward to seeing everybody next Monday.